Good day. For this particular presentation, we will present exempt transactions. When we say exempt transactions, we're referring to exempt. So, what are VAT exempt transactions? Well, the Revenue Regulation 16-05, as amended, had the occasion to uh, describe what is exempt transactions. And simply, these are sales of goods, sales of properties, sale of services, in the course of sales of services which are exempt from the VAT, and also importations exempt from the VAT as prescribed by Section 109 of the Tax Code and implemented by the BIR pursuant to Revenue Regulation 16-05. Okay, so before we dive deeper into the discussion of exemptions from the VAT, uh, I think it is also imperative that we recall what we have learned at this point, that to be subjected to the VAT, the transaction should be all sale of goods, all sale of services, which are in the course of trade or business, and all importations, whether for business or for personal use, should be subjected to the VAT, unless it is one of those which are exempt. It is one of those which are exempt from the VAT as enumerated by Section 109 of the Code. And what are those provided under Section 109 of the Code? Well, it's an, should we say, almost exhaustive list of what are the exemptions. Meaning, if your transaction, whether it be sale of goods or service or importation, is not included in that enumeration, the rule is it should be vatable. Otherwise, if it is one of those included in the enumeration, then it should be exempt from the VAT. So, what is my advice to you if you are learning the value added tax? Well, there's no choice. You have to remember, you have to memorize what are those enumerated. Because if you don't know what are those enumerated, then you will be at a loss to determine what are vatable and what are exempt. So, this is my rule. This is what we should do. You should memorize the exemptions. Okay? So, if it is not one of those enumerated, generally it is vatable. Okay? So, let's now begin with the first in the enumeration. Is case of sale or importation of agricultural and marine product in their original state. So, what are the important words that you should remember with regard to this? Well, regarding this exemption of agricultural and marine products, they are food products, no, for human consumption. Food products, agricultural and marine food products, in order for it to be exempt. What are the transactions that are exempt? Sale and importation. Sale and importation of food, marine, and agricultural product. So, what comes to mind here? Well, pork, eggs, chicken. So, when we say chicken, there is a word here which says to be exempt, the it must be in its original state, no? It must be in its original state. So, kailangan ba yung chicken to be exempted? Kailangan yung may balahibo pa, may ulo, may paa, tapos kumikiyok-yok, mga gano'n. So, para maging exempt, paano ko yung bibiling kong manok, dressed chicken? No? Dressed chicken. Teka lang, no? Medyo awkward yun, ano? Pag sinabi mong dressed chicken, tinanggalan mo ng damit, balahibo, tinanggalan mo ng sapatos, tinanggalan mo ng paa, tinanggalan mo ng helmet, tinanggalan mo ng ulo, dilinis mo sa loob, dressed chicken na yun, no? Labo. Gulo ng English. Anyway, so dressed chicken. So pag bumili ko ng dressed chicken sa tindahan, bumili ko ng dressed chicken. Hindi na original state yun? Batable na ba yun? Well, good news about that is yung in its original state is further defined by the law. Tingnan mo, sabi dito, original state covers simple, no? Ang simple process of preparation or preservation for the market. Yan ang keyword mo dyan. Simple process of preparation or preservation. And then the law provided what are those usual simple processes such as freezing, frozen meat, frozen pork, drying, tuyo, salting, broiling, roasting, lechon, roasting, smoking, tinapa, or stripping. And then it includes those using advanced technological means of packaging, such as shrimp wrapping in plastics, vacuum packing, Tetra Pak, and other similar packaging methods. So my point being, kapag bumili ka ng frozen meat sa grocery, you can say it still qualifies as in the original state, so it should be exempt. Okay? Yeah. So, what's curious about this is yung definition ng original state. Makikita mo dyan yung roasting. When we say roasting, so pag bumili ko ng lechon manok sa Andox, no, kunyari, dun sa tabi ng kalsada, take out, batable, exempt. Well, I can tell you na it should be exempt. Bakit? Kasi sale of agricultural food product in original state pa rin yun. Kasi yung roasted chicken, original state yun. I can say it is exempt. Okay? So, what if, punta ako sa, let's say, sa isang grocery, let's say sa mall, punta ako doon sa Kenny Rogers Roasters. Yan. So, I've ordered roasted chicken. Di ba? Roasted chicken sila. Order, can I please have a roasted chicken? And then, dineliver sa akin. Paglapag sa akin ng ganun, di kinain ko yung roasted chicken. Okay? Tapos, bigyan ako ng pinggan, bumili ako ng tubig, pinagsilbihan ako ng waiter. Okay? Kinain ko, bumili ko ng order akong roasted chicken. And then, ito na, dumating na yung bill. Pagdating ng bill ko, in-order ko lang, roasted chicken. Abay, ba't may VAT? Ba't may VAT? So, yun ang tanong. Anong pagkakaiba nung kumain ka sa restaurant nung lechon manok kumpara sa binili mo sa outlet, takeout counter na binili mo lang yung manok? Ito ang pagkakaiba. Pag bumili ka doon sa, let's say, Andok, sa ilalim ng tulay, bumili ka lang. Sale of food agricultural yun. Pag bumili ka, pag kumain ka ng lechon manok sa restaurant, hindi yung manok ang binibili mo. It is not a sale of agricultural product. Rather, when you dine in a restaurant, and it so happened you ordered roasted chicken, hindi sale of food roasted chicken yon. Rather, that is a sale of service. So when you dine in a restaurant, partaking on a roasted chicken, it will not fall within that exemption. Okay? Because the exemption applies only to sale of roasted chicken. Sale of food, agricultural product in its original state. Ang pagkain sa restaurant, service yon. So, it's not exempt. This was the holding, no? This was the interpretation of the BIR in the ruling applied by Andox Lechon Manok. Yan. Another thing to remember with this particular exemption is that for human consumption, no, breeding stock and genetic material. So, ang keyword natin dito, human consumption o yung mga nagbibigay ng pagkain. Yan. Okay, let's proceed to another item. So, another exemption is sale or importation of fertilizers, seeds, seedlings, fingerlings, fish prawns. So, ano naman to? Ito naman yung mga masasabi natin mga what we call as fertilizers o yung mga binhi ba binhi, no, dito, seeds, seedlings, fingerlings, fish prawn, mga binhi, yan. So, tsaka yung mga patuka, pakain sa mga alaga mong hayop. Pero remember, the exemption applies only to feeds of animals na what's the word I'm looking for? Livestock. Feeds, itong exemption applies only to feeds of livestock. What do we mean by livestock? Well, livestock is anything, any animal na will give food, no, for human consumption. Halimbawa, patuka ng manok, yung mga broiler na chicken, yung pagkain ng mga pinapalaki mong mga baboy, baka, and eventually magiging karne. Yan, yan mga livestock. Okay? Why am I emphasizing on that point? Well, the reason is this exception. Feed of animals which are pets, aquarium fish, zoo animals will not fall within this exception. Ano ibig sabihin? So pag bumili ka ng pagkain ng dog food ng alaga mong aso, hindi exemption. Okay? Yan. Another exemption from the value-added tax are medical, dental, hospital, and veterinary services. Pero tignan mo, ano ibig sabihin nito? Payment of professional fee. Okay? Payment for medical service, dental, hospital services. Except yung payment na rendered by professional. Maganda to, maganda to. This is let me exemplify. Let's say, for example, you are a doctor. You are what is your specialization as a doctor? Then you are a professional. You are a medical professional. And then you have your experience as a professional and you specializes in obstetric and gynecology. OB-GYN, yan. So, ikaw yung doktor na nagpapaanak, di ba? Yan. So, you have decided to go back to your hometown and then set up your practice. So, nagtayo ka doon sa inyo, sa bayan mo, ng, what you call that? Medical and lying in clinic ba tawag doon? O yung paanakan, yan. So, yun yung magiging service mo, nung clinic mo. You specializes in, tawag dito, yung service na magpapaanak. So, what you did, nag-advertise ka pa. Sabi mo, meron kang package deal. Kasi nga, OB-GYN ka, no? Doon sa clinic mo, doon sa medical center mo, meron kang package deal. What is the package deal? Kapag nanganak doon sa clinic mo, may package deal ka kapag normal delivery, 50,000 pesos. Ano yung 50? What is the composition of that 50,000 pesos? 50,000 pesos will cover 30,000. Yung 30,000 of that will be given to the doctors. Kasi kapag nanganak, 3 doktor ang kailangan dyan. Yung OB-GYN, yung anesthesiologist, tsaka yung pedya. Yan, 3 professionals yan. So, kasama yung 30,000, yun na yung babayad sa mga doktor. Tapos, yung 20,000 pesos, para naman doon sa use of your facility. Yung para sa paggamit ng preparation room mo, prep room, sa delivery room, tsaka yung recovery room after mga anak. So, yun yung 20,000. Tapos kasama na rin doon yung mga ginamit na like yung mga cotton and everything, alcohol and everything. Okay? Kasama na lahat. Covered na yun ng 20,000 pesos. So, let's say for example, no, you have had one patient na nanganak, nagbayad ng 50,000. Okay? So, my question is, how do we treat, for purposes of the VAT, yung 50,000 pesos? Okay? Applying this particular section, okay, out of that 50,000, 30,000 pesos will be not falling within this exemption. Why? Kasi sabi dito, to be exempt, it is medical service except those rendered by professional. So, yung payment for medical service, hindi siya exempt ng doktor. Yung medical service ng doktor, hindi siya exempt, yung 30,000. But the 20,000, it falls within this exception. Medical service nung clinic mo, nung center mo, exempt yun. Okay? Yan. So, paano naman yung doktor? How would the doctor treat that? If assuming na yung doktor naman, VAT registered, then he will be subject to the VAT for that 30,000 day. Tatlo pala sila, di ba? As I have mentioned in my example. Yung tatlong doktor na maghahati-hati ng 30,000, they will report that as VATable, assuming they are all VAT registered. Paano kung hindi sila VAT registered? Dahil hindi sila lumampas sa 3 million threshold. That's another story later. I will explain. Okay? Yan. So, keep that in mind, ha? Yan. Regarding this. And then the other naman, just go through it, no? B, exemption, yung as regards service rendered. This is not brought about, dati na to eh. Prior to the train law, nandun na yan, kaya lang ibang section. Ito, napunta dito sa number 4. Service rendered by regional or area headquarters. Sino to? Yung mga ROHQ tsaka mga RHQ. You would recall this in your Tax 1. These are the special corporations na special resident corporation na regional operating headquarters. They are subject to 10% income tax, no? And then yung regional area headquarter, they are not subject to income tax. They are considered income tax exempt. Well, what is provided here na yung mga exempt na sa income tax yung regional area headquarter, exempt din siya sa VAT because of this provision under VAT exemption. Yan yung services rendered by regional or area headquarters. Yan. Okay? And then kasama din yung sa exemption yung masasabi natin as confirmed by the BIR in BIR VAT ruling DA VAT 102 in November 2009. Kasama sa exemption na to yung mga representative office, mga rep office. Yan. Okay, another VAT exemption is export sale by person who are not VAT registered. Okay, so what is the important word that I would like to emphasize with this? Ito yan. Export sale by person who are not VAT registered. So, export sale by a non-VAT registered person is exempt from the VAT. What about those export sale by a VAT registered person? So you're asking about that. Well, you're probably aware already at this point na if you are VAT registered and you have VAT and you have export sale, that is a VATable transaction. Okay? That is a VATable. If you are VAT registered and you have export sale, that is a VATable transaction. Although, the VAT rate on that is 0% VAT. Okay? Okay. So, stated differently, ganito. Pag nag-export sale ka, VAT registered ka, 0%. Kapag naman nag-export sale ka, hindi ka VAT registered, exempt transaction yun. So, what again is what is the relevance of the distinction between zero rated and exempt? Input VAT. Keep that in mind. I think at this point you have already encountered it na the distinction between a zero rated transaction and an exempt transaction is that in zero rated transaction, input arising from zero rated transaction are allowed to be recognized as input VAT credit. It can only be claimed as refund or converted to tax credit certificate. Input from zero-rated transaction. On the other hand, input related to arising from exempt transaction, kasama to, input related to export sale to a person who is not VAT registered is not allowed to be recognized as input VAT. Rather, it will just be added into the cost of goods sold, cost of service, or other expenses. Ha? So, ulitin natin. Kapag related sa vatable transaction, zero rated, credit, input pwede. Pero kapag related sa exempt service, bawal i-recognize as input yon. So, magiging additional cost na lang siya o kasama siya sa expenses. Okay? Yan. So, export sale by person who are not VAT registered. Yan. Okay? Ito, maganda to, mahaba-haba to. Sale of real property. So, what then are real properties? Real properties are, well, to put it simply, these are those properties which are fixed on the land. The land itself is real property. And condominium is real property. Now, so ito ang rule natin when it comes to sale of real property. I think you would recall in your tax 1, no? You have learned in tax 1 na when it comes to property, we will classify it either as capital asset or ordinary asset. What are capital asset? Capital asset are any asset which is not ordinary. Yan. So, what then is ordinary? Ordinary asset are those assets which are used or intended for sale in the ordinary course of trade or business. So, ulitin natin. Ordinary assets are assets which are used or intended for sale, in the ordinary course of trade or business. If an asset does not fall within the definition of ordinary, then that asset is capital. Why am I telling you this? Well, simply because value-added tax is tax generally on business. So if it's not your business, then you should not subject that to the VAT. Stated differently, if the real property is a capital asset, you don't subject that to the VAT. Okay? Let me repeat because this is worthy of emphasizing. Real property which qualifies as a capital asset should not be subjected to the VAT. Okay? Meaning, ibig lang sabihin, suffice to say, exempt from the VAT, sale of real property held as capital asset. Okay? Another. So with that, having said that, only asset, real property held as ordinary asset will be subjected to the VAT. Well, that's a good point, no? Only asset which held as ordinary. Ito ngayon. You would recall na dalawang klase ang ordinary asset. Ano ulit yun? As I have mentioned earlier, one is intended in the ordinary course of trade or business, and the other used in the ordinary course of trade or business. So, unahin ko muna yung sale of asset used in the ordinary course of trade or business. Let's say, for example, your business is you manufacture and sell. You manufacture and sell, let's say, electronic products. You are manufacturing electronic products like computers, nagmamanufacture ka niyan, cellular phones, nagmamanufacture ka niyan. Yun yung business mo. Okay, that's your business. That's your ordinary course of trade or business. Manufacture and sell electronic products. And then, meron kang factory, no? Kung saan mo ginagawa yung products mo. And then, you have decided to sell that factory, both the land tsaka yung factory, yung building which houses the factory. You have decided to sell that. Okay? So, let me go back to my question. What is your ordinary business? Your business in the ordinary course, your activity in the ordinary course of your trade or business is selling and manufacturing and selling electronics. binenta mo yung factory. Is that your ordinary course of trade or business? Well, di ba, masasabi natin, we can say, it's not, right? So that's my question. Nung binenta mo yung factory mo, both the land and the structure, the house, the building, which houses your factory, is that sale of real property battable or exempt? Okay? My answer to that question would be, that will be battable. So, you're asking why? Well, battable siya dahil papasok siya doon sa definition ng who are liable to the VAT provided under Section 105 of the Tax Code. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Kasi nakalagay doon, including transactions incidental thereto. And it has been decided by the Supreme Court na yung sale ng yung equipment na ginagamit mo sa pag-produce, yung sale ng factory mo na ginamit mo for the longest time sa pag-produce ng produkto mo, that was an incident of your ordinary course of trade or business. Yung factory mo na binenta mo, incidental transaction yun. Kasama siya doon sa tinatawag nating transactions incidental thereto. So, yeah, that answers the question. Battable ba yun? Yung real property mo held as ordinary asset because it's used in the ordinary course of trade or business? Yes. Battable siya dahil incidental transaction siya. Yan. Okay? So that settles that question na ordinary asset used real property used in the ordinary course of trade or business. Now, punta na tayo sa real property intended for sale in the ordinary course of trade or business. When we talk about real property intended for sale in the ordinary course of trade or business, unang instinct mo, papasok sa isip mo, battable yan. Tama. So, ang tanong, pwede bang exempt? Pwede. So, unahin muna natin, when it comes to real property intended for sale in the ordinary course of trade or business, isipin mo, you have to distinguish this time between residential and commercial. Okay? Okay. Real property for commercial purpose and real property for residential purpose, yung binebenta mo. What do we mean by that? Well, ganito kasi. The reason why we need to distinguish, if you are of course, magkano ba yan? Magkano bang real property? Hindi bababa ng million yan. So, generally, it's fair to assume that if you are a real estate developer, you are engaged in the ordinary course of trade or business of selling real property, malamang, lampas ng 3 million ang benta mo sa isang taon. Okay? Otherwise, it's not a sustainable business, di ba? So, my point being, kapag ikaw nagbebenta ka ng real property intended for sale in the course of trade or business, and this real property is for commercial or industrial use, battable yan. Maski magkano pa ang benta, battable yan. Okay? Ito na ngayon. When it comes to real property held for sale in the ordinary course of trade or business, at yung real property, residential, dyan mo tatanungin ngayon kung yung bang real property niyan, socialized or low-cost housing. Well, pag socialized at low-cost housing, ito ang mga threshold amount. Yan. Kapag sale of low-cost housing, 750,000 pababa, exempt. More than 750,000, battable na. Yun namang socialized housing, 400,000 for house and lot, and 160,000 for lot only. What do we mean by that? 400,000 house and lot, pababa, exempt. More than 400,000 house and lot, battable. Lot only, 160,000 pababa, exempt. More than 160, battable. So, pag low-cost housing tsaka socialized housing. Ito naman, other than those two, kung ikaw ay nagbebenta ng residential house and lot, ito, kapag residential lot only, ang threshold amount, 1,919,500. Okay? Pababa. Tsaka house and lot, 3,199,000 and below. Okay? Okay. So, these threshold amounts, yeah, ito yung amount, no, as per revenue regulation prior to the effectivity of the train law. So, with regard to sale of residential lot, this should now be 1.5 million, no? Just take note of that. Residential lot, 1.5. And then, ito namang house and lot and other residential dwelling, this should now be 2.5 million. 2.5 million naman yan. Beginning January 1, 2018. Okay, that's the effectivity date of the train. This has already been revised. Just take note of that. This should be 1.5 and this should be 2.5 million. Okay. So, di ba, yun ang, when we say 2.5 million, that includes a sale, no, of a house and lot, residential house and lot. What about condominium units? Residential dwelling din yun, di ba? Residential condominium. Nagbebenta ng residential condo. Anong threshold ang gagamitin mo? Ito yan. Yung 2.5 million dito, yun din ay i-apply mo sa residential condo. So, just to give you an example, let's say for example, yung upper middle class na market ng, let's say, Mega World, nagbebenta ng condominium. Ang mga size ng mga condo nila, nagre-range sa 39 to 40 square meters. So, ang mga presyohan ng mga condo unit nila, let's say for example, sa 40 square meter, say 4 million. Di ba? 4 million, lampas sa threshold, di ba? So, kapag si Mega World nagbenta ng condominium unit to a customer, bumibili ng condo, may VAT yun. May VAT. So, si buyer, ang babayaran niya, so 4.4 million, 4,480,000. Yung 480,000, VAT yun. Di, kung ikaw naman si buyer, ay, ang bigat, no? Ang bigat. Instead of 4 million only, nagbayad pa ako ng 480,000 additional, 4.4. Paano kung 4 million lang ang pera ko? Di hindi ako nakabili, no? So, si Mega World hindi nakabenta. So, meron ibang condominium developer, magaling, matalino. Ano ginawa? So, ang ginawa na itong condominium developer, itago na natin sa pangalang, sa alias na SMDC, sabi, ibenta natin yung mga unit natin ng isang studio unit, say, 20 square meter. Di ba? 20 square meter. So, same price, 2 million. Kung 2 million, VAT exempt. Di ba? So, ganito nila pinush. Sabi ni SM sa mga potential buyer, SMDC. Example lang to, example lang. Sabi ni SMDC, sige, ito, benta ko sa'yo. Isang unit, 2 million. Sabi naman ni buyer, ang liit. Hindi. Kasi, VAT exempt yan. Hindi kasi lumampas sa 2.5. So, kung gusto mo, ganito, bilhin mo to isang unit, tapos bilhin mo yung katabing unit. Yan. Bilhin mo tong unit, tapos bilhin mo yung katabing unit, tapos lagyan mo na lang siya ng pinto sa loob, yung partition ng dalawang unit. Yung isang unit mo, yung dalawa mong unit, magiging isa yun. Pero, yung sale mo, hiwalay. So, dalawang transaction yan, hindi papasok sa VAT exempt threshold. Ayan, diyan talino, di VAT exempt, no? Kung kumpara sa lumang sistema na nagbayad ng VAT ng 480,000, eto, walang binayarang VAT. Dahil yung dalawang sale, dalawang unit, hindi pumasok sa threshold. So nakita to ni BIR. So sabi ni BIR, naglabas sila ng naglabas sila ng sabi ni BIR, edi hindi pwede 'yon. So ang ginawa ng BIR, sabi ng BIR, kapag daw one person bought the adjoining unit within a period of 1 year, will be considered just one transaction. Magkakaroon ng tinatawag na aggregation. Pagsasamahin yung cost ng dalawa, pag nalaman yung total cost lumampas ng 2.5 threshold, yung dalawang sale na yun magiging VAT transaction if the purchase of the adjoining unit happened within the same year. Purchased by the one and the same person. Yan. Okay? Ganda, no? Yan. Next slide. Okay, to reiterate what I have mentioned earlier, kapag real property not for sale in the ordinary course of trade or business, or not held for lease in the ordinary course of trade or business, that is exempt, no? Because these are yung what I referred to earlier as a capital asset. And then ito naman yung low cost low cost or socialized housing, di ba? Pero starting January 1, 2021, VAT exemption of low cost housing will be removed. Tapos sale of house and lot and other residential dwelling will now be exempt only at threshold ng 2 million pesos. But this will be beginning January 1, 2021. Okay? Tapos, ito rin yun, yung sinasabi ko sa inyo kanina, na under Revenue Regulation 16-2011, di ba? Dati, naging 1.9500. Noong 2011 yan. Tapos, naging 3199. But this has been changed by the train law na naging balik sa 1.5 tsaka 2.5. Okay, so what about lease of residential units? So important words that you should remember this. Not all lease of units, no, are exempt, meaning industrial tsaka commercial. Because you would observe there is this modifier. Yung tinatawag natin, ang exempt lang, lease of residential unit. So stated differently, when what you are leasing is a commercial unit, ikaw yung nagpapaupa ng commercial or industrial unit, aba, ano yon? Hindi siya exempt. Vatable yun. Maski magkano pa. Maski magkano pa yung monthly rental nung lessor. And then, so let's now focus on this exemption of lease of residential unit. So pag nagpapaupa ka ng residential unit, there are two requisites, no? Two requisites for exemption. So, the monthly rental per unit should not exceed 12,800, no? Ito, itong nakikita nyo 12,800 na to, I would just like to point out that this was the monthly rental per unit threshold prior to the train law. And just take note na beginning January 1, 2018, naging 15,000 na yung monthly rental per unit. Okay? So, to be exempt, so the condition should be, to be exempt, the monthly rental per unit, residential unit, should be 15,000 pesos a month for each unit, and the annual gross receipt of the lessor should exceed 3 million. Should exceed 3 million to be vatable. Meaning, itong two conditions na 15,000 per unit tsaka 3 million annual gross receipt ng lessor should go hand in hand. Both conditions should be met. Otherwise, if one of these two conditions are lacking, then the residential unit, lease of residential unit per month will still be exempt from the VAT. Okay? So what do we mean by residential units? By the way, so ito yung mga apartments and houses and lots used for residential purposes. Okay? Kasama dyan yung yung dormitories, tsaka room and bed space. Okay. Another exemption, so by the train law, by virtue of the train law, this is sabi natin, naging 15,000 per month na. Okay? Are exempted. Now, other VAT exempt transactions, in case of sale, importation or lease of passenger and cargo vessels. But remember, there are conditions, no? So, in case of sale, importation or lease of passenger or cargo vessel and aircraft, including engine equipment and spare parts. So, the exemption applies to those uh, cargo vessel, aircraft, uh, when it comes sa 150 tons and above, okay? Including engine and spare parts, no? And vessels to be imported should comply with the age limit to fall within the exemption, okay? If what you are importing is a passenger or cargo vessel, okay? Uh, the age should be 15 years old or less. So that conversely speaking, if more than 15 years old, 16 and above, batable na yung importation na yun. For tankers, 10 years old and below, and for high-speed passenger craft, 5 years old and below to be exempt. Next exemption will be services of banks, non-bank financial intermediaries, and other non-bank financial intermediaries. Well, they are exempt because they are subject to other percentage tax. Okay? So, under Section 121 and 122 of the tax code. And remember, pawn shop, from 2004 up to present, they are subject to percentage tax on gross receipt of 0 to 5%. Okay? Now, let us deal with other VAT exempt transactions. So, when it comes to our Pilipino, non-resident Pilipino, including yung mga balik-bayan ba, na yung kanilang personal and household effects, which are in quantity and class suitable to their profession, rank or position, and not intended for sale. Kumbaga, ito yung mga gamit nila nung nasa ibang bansa sila naninirahan, pagbalik na nila dito sa Pilipinas to reestablish their residency, they are exempt importation. Yan. Provided it qualifies din the exemption under the Tariff and Customs Code. So, ibig sabihin, kung itong mga personal effects ng mga balikbayan, ini-exempt yan sa customs and tariff ng customs duty, then exempt din siya sa VAT on importation. Yan. Another exemption, yung VAT exemption on importation of fuel, goods, and supply by person engaged in international shipping or international airport operation. Exempt din yan. Ito, bago itong susunod, this one. I think you're familiar with Section 40C2. Ito yung tinatawag nating tax-free exchange. So background lang, let me just refresh your memory regarding the tax-free exchange that you have learned in Tax 1. Let's say for example, ganito yan, kalimbawa ikaw, meron kang, let's say, meron kang factory, meron kang real property kung nasaan yung factory mo, or binenta mo. Di ba? As I have mentioned earlier, batable yun kapag yung factory tsaka yung lupa ng factory mo, batable siya. 'di ba? Batable siya, papasok kasi siya doon sa incidental transaction. Oh, what if the situation is this? Yung factory mo, binenta mo sa isang corporation, sa isang bagong corporation, binenta mo. So yung corporation, they took in your property. Anong pinambayad sa iyo ng corporation na pinagbentahan mo? Ang pinambayad niya sa iyo, yung shares of stocks ng corporation. Okay? Yung shares of stocks ng corporation na tinanggap mo, majority shares of stock, actually not just majority, rather controlling shares in that corporation. Ang pinambayad niya sa iyo, shares of stocks equivalent to 51% of its outstanding stocks. Aba, if that is the case, yung property ko, ikaw pala, yung property mo, binenta mo dito sa korporasyon, ang pinambayad niya sa'yo, shares of stocks, na kung saan yung shares of stocks na yun, ikaw na nagbenta ng lupa mo, tumanggap ka ng shares of stocks, nagkaroon ka ng control sa corporation na yun. Tax-free exchange yun under Section 40C2. Exempt yun sa capital gains tax. Exempt yung benta mo sa capital gains tax. Exempt sa income tax yung benta mo ng property mo. At sabi ng bakit exempt? Dahil nga pumasok doon sa exemption ng tax-free exchange. Section 40C2. Yan, ito bago to. Dati kasi, hindi nakalagay ito sa tax law. So, nagkaroon ng issue. O sige, exempt sa income tax, capital gain tax, pero walang sinabi exempt sa VAT yan. So, nagka-issue yan, nababat, naniningil ang BIR ng VAT. So, binago na nila. Yan. Sabi, pag exempt sa income tax, sa capital gain tax, income tax, under 40C2, exempt din sa VAT. Ito yung sinasabi. Yan. Okay, bago yan. Bagong exemption yan. Introduced by the train law. Yan. Okay. Ano pa? Marami pang ibang exempt. Ito, nilagay din sa Section 109 yung exemption ng sale or lease of goods and services to senior citizen and person with disability. You would recall this na kapag yung senior citizen yung kanyang purchase ng meals sa isang restaurant, nanood ng nag nag-avail ng service ng hotel, yan. Ito yung mga exemption sa senior citizen tsaka PWD. Ito, sinabi lang dito yun. Okay? Exempt na talaga siya sa VAT. Okay? And then, dito din, nilagay din yung exemption ng bago rin to. Introduced by the train law, yung exemption ng association dues, membership fees, and other assessment and charges by homeowners association. So, anong point natin? Ang homeowners association and condominium corporation, exempt. Exempt sila sa value added tax. Okay? Yan. And then, sale of drugs and medicines, ito. Kaya ko naman nabanggit ito, bago rin to, dinagdag din to sa ng train law sa exemption from the VAT. Bakit? Kasi, you would recall, only senior citizen are exempt from their purchase of medicine, exempt from the VAT. Ano ba yung mga usual na mga medicine ng mga senior citizen? At yung mga because of old age, like yung diabetes medicine, hypertension, and so on. So nakakapag-avail lang ng exemption niyan, mga senior citizen. So what's the problem? You know naman, nowadays, because of lifestyle habit ng mga tao, it has become a lifestyle disease na rin ang diabetes and hypertension, even to those who are not senior citizen. So napakaraming mga tao na rin ang mayroong mga diabetes and hypertension, even if you're not a senior citizen. So therefore, recognizing that, in-exempt na rin maski na sino ang bibili ng drugs and medicine prescribed for diabetes, high cholesterol, and hypertension. Although this exemption began only on January 1, 2019. Okay, only on January 1, 2019. Ano pa? Another exemption, yung you would recall yung income tax natin. Yan. So, if your annual gross receipt does not exceed 3 million and you did not opt to register under the VAT system, you are exempt from the VAT and also from the other percentage tax. This is what is important that I would like uh, to dwell on. Ito yung you would recall, we are now at the last part, no? We can say that among other exemptions, this is the last among the enumerated exemptions from the VAT. And what is this? Ito yung nasa section 109 subparagraph BB, which says, in case of sale of goods, sale of services, importation not mentioned above. So, ito, section BB to. So, tingnan mo yung wording ng BB. Sabi, in case of sale of goods or services, importation not mentioned above. So, what is being referred to are exemptions provided under 109A down to AA, no? 109A down to AA. So, ano ibig sabihin? Kasi nga, ang exemption is the rule. Kung wala ka sa listed exemption, vatable ka. So, ang sinasabi, netong 109BB, huy, if you are not mentioned in 109A hanggang AA, dapat vatable ka na, di ba? Pero sinasabi ng BB, pero huwag ka mag-alala. Hindi ka man nabanggit sa AA hanggang BB, pero hindi ka naman lumampas sa 3 million na annual gross receipt mo, exempt ka pa rin sa VAT. Yun ang sinasabi. Kaya ang tawag ko dito sa 109BB na to, etong huling to eh. Ito lang. Whenever we speak of a law, tandaan mo, pag merong enumeration, madalas yung nasa ilalim, yan yung tinatawag nating Pokemon provision. Why do I refer to it as Pokemon provision? Kasi you gonna catch them all. Yan. Ito yung catch all provision, yung baba. 109BB. Bakit? Kasi sinasabi niya, o sige, hindi ba kita nabanggit sa A hanggang AA? Okay? Dapat vatable ka na. Pero, hindi ka naman lumampas ng 3 million, ito yung catch-all. Sa mga hindi nabanggit sa A tsaka A hanggang AA, pero hindi ka naman lumampas sa 3 million, exempt ka pa rin. Okay? So, ano ibig sabihin? No? Sinasabi ng batas, hindi ka pa required, hindi ka mandatorily required to register under the VAT system kung ang annual gross receipt mo hindi lampas ng 3 million pesos. Exempt ka pa rin sa VAT. Pero, ito ang point ko. Kapag naman lumampas ka ng 3 million, mag-register ka na under the VAT system. Bakit? Kasi once na ang annual gross receipt mo lampas ng 3 million, tas hindi ka nag-register sa VAT, mag-register ka o hindi sa VAT, lampas ka ng 3 million, ang benta mo mayroong output VAT. Ba't mo naman gugusto yung mag-register under the VAT system? Ito, pag hindi ka nag-register under the VAT system, you are not allowed to recognize input VAT credit. Why? Because only those who are VAT registered are allowed to recognize input VAT. So therefore, lampas ka ng 3 million, ang benta mo may VAT na, pero hindi ka nag-register, patay. Ang babayaran mo, 12% output ng lahat ng benta mo, 12% output ng benta mo without the benefit of input VAT deduction or credit. Okay? Kaya yun ang masakit. Kaya ito lang ang payo ko, advice, kapag ang taxpayer lampas ng 3 million ang benta niya, annual gross receipt, mag-register na siya under the VAT system para makapag-avail siya ng input VAT credit. Okay? Ito pa. Ngayon, so, hindi ako required mag-register under the VAT pero hindi ako lumampas ng 3 million. Hindi ako lumampas ng 3 million. Hindi ako required mag-register sa VAT. Yes. Kaya lang, gusto ko mag-register sa VAT. Yun ang tanong. Meron bang taong gugustuhin mag-register under the VAT? Meron. Kasi, ganito. Kapag exempt ka sa VAT, hindi ka kasi lumampas ng 3 million. Ang benta mo, wala ngang VAT. pero liable ka sa 3% other percentage tax. Okay? So pag hindi ka registered sa VAT, tapos hindi ka lampas ng 3 million, ang benta mo, wala nga 12% VAT, pero meron kang 3% OPT. For example, meron kang sale, 100,000. 100,000 times 3%, magbabayad ka ng 3,000 percentage tax. Okay? Let me illustrate further. 100,000 ang purchase mo. So, ang sale mo, 100,000 ang sale mo pala, 100,000 sale mo. Tapos, meron kang purchases naman, 90,000 pesos. Okay? So, kung hindi ka nag-register under the VAT, 100,000 times 3%, 3,000 pesos, bayad ka. Ito ang tanong. Sabi ng batas, hindi ka registered sa VAT. Hindi ka kasi lumampas ng 3 million. Okay lang yan. Pero sabi ng batas, doon sa second paragraph, subparagraph B ng Section 109, sabi, those who are not registered may opt for VAT registration. Aba, yung batas natin, nag-aalok sa mga taxpayer na hindi ka man required mag-register, mas subject sa VAT, binibigyan ka ng option na mag-VAT. Oh, meron ba mag-a-avail ng option na yun? Is there any person who in his right mind would avail of that option? Kasi ganito pag hindi ka nag-register sa VAT, bayad ka 3%. Pag nag-optional VAT registration ka, edi mababat yung yung sale mo. 100,000 times 12%, 12,000. Kapag OPT, 3%, 3,000. Kapag VAT, 12,000. May output. So, ang tanong, is there any person who in his right mind would avail of that optional VAT registration? Answer, yes, in a case-to-case, on case-to-case basis. Bakit? Kasi once you register under the VAT, you may now avail of the input VAT credit. Kaya kung ikaw, ang business mo, may mga binabayaran kang input sa mga supplier mo, probably it may be advisable to avail of the optional VAT. Halimbawa, this example natin kanina, 100,000 sale, tapos meron kang 90,000 purchase. Tignan mo, kung hindi ka nag-VAT register, 100,000 sale times 3%, bayad ka 3,000. Ngayon, kung nag-VAT registered ka kanina, yung example natin, 100,000 times 12%, 12,000 output. Di ba? Laki from 3,000. Pero, hindi yung 12,000 ang babayaran mo dahil meron kang input VAT credit. You would recall, meron kang purchase na 90,000. 90,000 times 12%, 10,800 yun, input VAT. So, 12,000 minus 10,800, ang binayaran mo, 1,200 lang. So, kung percentage tax 3,000, nag-optional VAT ka, ang binayaran mo 1,2 lang. Eh di mas lamang ang VAT registration. Bakit? Basta may input. So this may not be advisable, this may not be advantageous to all. So you have to determine the nature of your business. Kung if the nature of your business na marami kang input, yung mga supplier mo, batable supplier, so pag bumibili ka, may VAT sila. Ikaw, hindi ka VAT registered, hindi mo pwede i-recognize na input yon. Pero kung VAT registered ka, yung output ng supplier mo, input mo yun. Pwede mo siya i-credit against your output. So that's the reason why merong optional VAT registration. So, ito ngayon ang tanong. If I opt to register under the VAT this time, next year, hindi pala advantageous, pwede bang ayoko na? Okay? Paano yan? So, ganito sabi ng batas. Optional VAT registration shall be irrevocable for 3 years. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Once you opt for VAT registration, you are committed. You are tied to it for the next 3 years. 3 years ang optional VAT. So therefore, if you are contemplating of availing of the optional VAT registration, you should have a projection for the next 3 years. You should be able to see na it will be advantageous to your business for the next 3 years. Because if you planned only for 1 year and you haven't seen on the second and third year, the VAT registration is disadvantageous, talo ka, lugi ka. Kaya remember that optional VAT registration shall be irrevocable for 3 years. That's a 3-year commitment. Ngayon, is it absolutely the case? Lahat ba ng exemption 3 years? Well, in one case, yung radio television network. Oh, by the way, I also have to mention na those subject to other percentage tax, no? Under the tax code. Ano ba 'tong mga other percentage tax na 'to? This will be discussed in another presentation, no? So, those who are liable to the other percentage tax, by way of example, like yung common carrier tax, percentage tax on banks, uh, percentage tax on amusement tax, 'di ba? Tsaka percentage tax on franchise such as radio and television network. These are VAT exempt. Why? Kasi nagbabayad na sila ng percentage tax. Nasa listahan niya ng Section 109. So, uh, another one of that is radio television network. Ang radio television network, ang threshold niya 10 million pesos. What do you mean by that? Radio television network whose annual gross receipt does not exceed 10 million is liable to the 10%, is liable to the percentage tax, 3% percentage tax, radio television network. However, even conversely speaking, kapag lampas ng 10 million, yung radio television network, vatable na. Okay, vatable na. But the law itself said, if a radio television network's annual gross receipt does not exceed 10 million, it shall have the option of availing the value-added tax. Meaning, yung radio television network not exceeding 10 million, merong optional VAT registration. Okay? So, ito ang tanong. Would the same rule apply? Na the radio television network's optional VAT registration shall be revocable for 3 years? Answer, no. When it comes to radio television network, it is a different rule. And what is the rule? This is the rule when it comes to duration of optional VAT registration to radio television network. The rule is, once you go VAT, you'll never go back. Yan. Meaning, forever na. Yan lang ang may forever. Pag nag-register yung radio television network ng optional VAT, irrevocable. Once you go VAT, you'll never go back. Okay? Yan. So, yan yung optional VAT registration ng exempt. Okay? And then, so I think I have now come to the end, no? Almost end of this discussion. But let me provide you with another, so recap. So, ang rule natin, remember this, the rule is sale of goods, sale of services in the course of trade or business and importation are vatable, except those which are enumerated under Section 109 of the Tax Code, which enumerates exemption from the VAT. So ang mindset natin, pag wala sa listahan ng exemption, vatable. Is that absolute? Merong exception to the exception. Yan. Ano exception to the exception? Ito yung one curious case of SM Prime Holdings Incorporated, no? Versus Commissioner, SM Prime Holdings versus Commissioner of Internal Revenue. Si BIR, inassess si SM Prime Holdings ng value-added tax. Hindi raw nagbabayad ng VAT. Bakit? Alam mo naman ng SM Prime Holdings, siya ang may-ari ng lahat ng sinihan ng SM malls sa buong Pilipinas. Napakaraming sine nun. Tapos pag tinignan mo yung exemption, Section 109, wala kang makikitang nakalista sa Section 109 na sale of service of exhibition of cinematographic film. Wala dun sa 109. So sabi ng BIR, dahil wala ka sa exemption, sale of service in the ordinary course of trade or business, so wala sa 109, vatable. So inassess ng BIR si SM Prime ng VAT on receipt of its cinema, ng exhibition of cinematographic film. Di ba ang laking halaga nun? Grabe, buong Pilipinas yan. Sabi ng abogado ng, di ba, anong position ng BIR? Di ba, yun nga, dahil wala ka sa exception, vatable ka. Sabi ng abogado ng BIR, ng SM, hindi naman kasi vatable ang cinematographic film because if you would look into the history, legislative intent yung intensyon ng mga mambabatas nung ginawa ang VAT law, they never intended to include exhibition of cinematographic films as battable because since time immemorial, it has been subject to amusement tax imposed by the local government unit. And you subject that further to VAT, papatay na yung industriya ng sine dito sa Pilipinas. May amusement na, may VAT pa. Never daw in-include yan. Tsaka kapag bitignan mo ra yung deliberation sa enactment ng Congress sa VAT law, binanggit doon ng yung list of cinematographic film. Take note list of cinematographic film as battable service. Pero hindi kinonsider, excuse me, pero hindi binanggit ang exhibition. The fact daw na binanggit yung list pero hindi binanggit ang exhibition of cinematographic film, it shows a clear intent of Congress na wag isama ang exhibition of cinematographic film. Ano sabi ng Supreme Court? Sabi ng Supreme Court, tama ang SM. Sa legislative intent ng value-added tax, Congress never intended to subject exhibition of cinematographic film to the VAT because it is already being subjected to amusement tax imposed by local governments. That was the intent. So, ito yung sinasabi nating exception to the exception. And let me close my discussion on that note. Okay? So, okay. God bless and be well and stay safe.